morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to welcome you to the traditional territories of the Musqueam Nation, which is situated by the University of British Columbia. We've been there only 9,000 years, so we've been here a while. So anyways, here we go. Antes at some continuity with Musqueam Mustea, I'd Cassiam, Tana Mustea, Pizza Clay, Inamet, with Musqueam Tomo, when I'm Quam Schwellum and Siem, Giatalum Siem, I'd Cassiam, Tana Mustea, Cha, Quantomo Siem, when I'm Quam Schwellum and Siem, I just think the Pol Musquad Squish, the Tomok Siem, Sanak, Etanana Siem, I just think the Hawan Mekan Siem. Nee, hi, toen is kwart niet om aan. Hij is gezien dat ze we schwalen pa, dat ze we schwalen with ZCM. On behalf of the Musqueam Nation, I'd like to thank you all here to our traditional territories. It's on an old village site called Sanak, and Sanak is where the Olympic Village in this area was built, and that was one of our old village sites. And especially I'd like to thank everybody that traveled far to be here with us today. And I hope your festivities go well and enjoy yourself as we are all here, one heart, one mind, one family. Thank you.
Henry Charles. Henry was the third First Nations storyteller in residence at the Vancouver Public Library, and so we have had the experience of being with him on many occasions, and thank you again. Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Evans. I'm the current chair of the Vancouver Public Library Board. I want to thank you all for joining us for this afternoon's keynote event with Judy Rebick, lifelong activist, writer, current holder of the CAW Gindin Chair in Social Justice and Democracy at Ryerson University in Toronto. Lifelong learning is one of the Vancouver Public Library's 4 strategic priorities. We're proud to provide opportunities for individuals of all ages to pursue personal interests, explore the world, and discover the joy of learning. Since 2002, the Vancouver Public Library has hosted Media Democracy Day activities in Vancouver. Media Democracy Day provides a place for citizens, activists, media artists, innovators, policymakers, students, and academics to come together and engage in a dynamic dialogue on the importance of creating a participatory, democratic media system that works in the public interest. Before I introduce Dr. Kathleen Cross, Chair of the Media Democracy Day Organizing Committee, who will be introducing Judy Rebick, I'd like to highlight a few upcoming programs at the Central Library that might interest you. Tomorrow evening, upstairs in the promenade, is a very special performance called CAW Beneath the Canopy and Through the Underworld, Stories, Songs, and Celebrations. This is a joint effort of the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra and Western Front New Music, who have come together to tell the story of CAW, a venerated figure from Aboriginal mythology who was associated with bringing wealth to the community. And on November 21st, James Tracy will read from a groundbreaking book, Hillbilly Nationalists, Urban Race Rebels, and Black Power, Community Organizing in Radical Times. This book explores the story of how a diverse network of political groups helped to redefine community organizing at a pivotal moment in U.S. history. If you're interested in these programs or the many others offered at the library, you will find more information in our events brochure, it's over on the table there, and on our online calendar at vpl.ca. Again, we are delighted to host Media Democracy Day here at the Central Library, and please join me in giving Catherine Cross a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much to Henry Charles for reminding us that we are on unceded Aboriginal territory, and to Catherine Evans for her comments about the Vancouver Public Library. I just realized I'm standing on my tiptoes because this is a very high podium, not built for small people. Okay, so I have 2 tasks to carry out in the few minutes that I have here. The first one is to welcome you to the 11th Annual Media Democracy Day. And this is on behalf of the organizing committee. We as a group from both academic and the activist community are committed to democratizing the media. And we collaborate to put this event on every year. We believe that the media in its myriad forms and platforms is central to the question of democracy. They represent significant symbolic power as a source of political culture and information in Canada and for most Canadians. They take part in the social construction of reality by making some perspectives or messages part of the public discussion and by neglecting or omitting others. And since most of the media in Canada is owned by large corporate conglomerates, they also have significant political and economic power in our society. And it's because the media is so central to democratic society that we at Media Democracy Days are committed to its reform, to its reinvigoration, and to the restructuring of the mediascape as the pivotal strategy for truly democratic society. We have two goals. The first one is to promote the democracy of the media itself by changing the system so that it functions internally as a vibrant public sphere. The second is to promote democracy through media by helping to support and make space for other social justice and democracy-enhancing messages and groups. So to do so, you'll see in our program, to do so we focus on three principles identified in our tagline, know the media, be the media, change the media. To know the media is to understand how the present media system works, how it developed, and what effects it has. So this means looking at things like who owns the media, what is the effect of these dominant ownership structures on the production and distribution of the messages in our society. It also means looking at what kind of effects certain media content has on labor practices, on audiences, etc. You can learn more about these particular issues today from a couple panels, one on unions and public opinion later on today, as well as in this room, the Future of Journalism panel. Knowing the media also means engaging in research and discussions about representations in the media. Last year, for example, we had two workshops that specifically addressed this, one on gender and sexuality representations in the media, and another on environmental and greenwashing of public relations and its effect on the media. This year, we have two specific panels, one called Lost in Translation, talking about ethnic diversity in the media, and another one called Indigenous Voices, about Aboriginal uses and representation in our mass media. Our second principle is to be the media. That means promoting and enhancing the opportunities for citizens to participate actively in the creation of meaning within our own culture. We can make alternative media content. We can produce democratic media for social change. In fact, hundreds of groups in the Lower Mainland are doing just that, and 30 of them are represented in our media fair upstairs. And I really encourage you to walk by those tables and take a look at some of the work they are tirelessly doing. The second area of being the media could be represented by our panel on new methods or new directions in civic engagement, which is a somewhat irreverently titled panel called Shit Harper Did, Slut Walk, and Lead Now. I have to tell you that when I showed the program to the president of our university, who very generously helped donate to this event, he went, "I sponsored something that said Shit Harper did? I'm not sure that's really smart of me." But I told him, as I will tell you, that that's a really interesting panel because these are events that have happened to encourage civic engagement, especially youth civic engagement, using new media just in the last 12 months. All three of those groups have been extremely active and we hadn't really heard of them and they hadn't really been in existence a year ago. So this is really an interesting area to look at how to be the media or intervene with the media. And also we have a number of hands-on workshops tomorrow that are all about do-it-yourself media, how to do radio, how to do political engagement, how to do progressive filmmaking. So that's how we're talking about that over this weekend. And finally, our third principle tells us that if we are to reimagine a functioning democratic media, we have to change the media. We have to intervene in the existing mediascape and make it different. So this means engaging with what some people consider kind of boring policy issues, but they are fundamentally important. Questions of policy, regulation, and laws, like from copyright legislation, to internet throttling, to concentration of ownership and foreign corporate power, to supports for culturally important areas such as independent filmmaking, the public broadcaster. These kinds of policy interactions are the sort of thing that Open Media, one of our partners, has been very particularly effective at in the last few years. And more examples of these kinds of discussions can be found throughout the next 2 days, and particularly later this afternoon in the multi-party panel, where for the first time we've had a number of people representing, all women by the way, representing political parties to talk about media policy and what's their role and their view of how to intervene in changing the system. What is in store for us today and tomorrow is an energetic, intensive, potentially exhausting 2 days, and we hope, however, that it will inspire you to rededicate yourself to the importance of changing media systems for real democracy. So just before I introduce Judy, I need to make a few thank yous, because we always do at these things. We have to acknowledge the 3 partners who make this event possible every year. This is our 11th Media Democracy Day. The School of Communication, which is my home, and in particular my colleagues and fellow directors, Stuart Points, Bob Hackett, graduate student Robert Prey, and instructors David Murphy and Chris Giselnik, whose media production class are back there documenting the whole event for us today. Our other partner is openmedia.ca, in particular Executive Director Steve Anderson, who's been involved in this event since the beginning, Lindsay Pinto and Riley Yao. The Vancouver Public Library, whose generous providing of their space every year helps us make this event free. Our major funders, Faculty of Communication, Art, and Technology, President, Vice President, the UBC School of Journalism, and there's a number of others who have joined us for the first time this year, the BC Federation of Labour, the BC GEU, SFU Institute for Humanities, etc. But there's dozens of them who give us small amounts. We are a nonprofit, we don't get significant funding, and we have please look at the back 2 pages of our program and see who has helped support our funding in order to provide this, and thank them at every chance you get. And of course, our student staff and volunteers who tirelessly work to make this happen. Most of them are standing at the back over there. Gala Mill, Tyler Morgenstern, Jasmine Polensky, and Josh Tabish, who are central organizers this year, significantly helped by Shima Galen, Kavya Joseph, Wendy Lang, and a host of about other 30 student volunteers who you will see all throughout the day. Their dedication and enthusiasm is an inspiration for those of us who work with them, and we cannot thank them enough. So now I have the great honor of introducing today's keynote speaker. Some of you may know her from CBC Radio's highly rated Q Media panel with Jian Ghomeshi, where she weekly goes head-to-head with the likes of Globe and Mail columnist Margaret Wente, and many of us thank her every week for providing a challenge to that particular view of the world. Of course, she's been active in media for many years, from weekly contributions on the political panel of Peter Zosky's Morningside, to being the self-described left-wing host of the CBC TV show Face Off. And what her ongoing media work demonstrates is that she has, it's actually frightening sometimes, she has the tenacity and the courage and the inspiring dedication to constantly speak out for the many who have little voice in the mainstream media culture. Incredibly courageous. And she's also the founder of the national and nationally important news website, rabble.ca, whose masthead reads, appropriately so, news for the rest of us. Just over 10 years ago, Judy Rebick imagined a news source that could provide a diversity of voices that were committed to social justice and a better world, and started this fundamentally important and influential website. Her most recent book is titled Transforming Power from Personal to Political, which called for new forms of collective action. Indeed, reading this book is like reading an anticipation of the Occupy movement that has emerged in the last few weeks and few months. She is known across Canada as an activist, a journalist, a feminist leader, an author, a new media innovator, a lecturer, current affairs critic, and indefatigable campaigner for social justice. I have the great honor of presenting Judy Rebick.